show up on here. We interrupt this broadcasting system to say hi to you all. Sorry, there's a hair on here. I have three gatos. Hello, this is Zeus Angel Mystic Tarot, and I thought I would pop on here to chat with you all, talk to you all, let you know that I'm available for you guys. I have posted my email in the description of my YouTube channel. And I do not put that there lightly because I do not like putting my email out there. But if you guys need a personal reading, you can email me. Today, I thought I would come on here. If anybody has anything that's, heavy on their mind, pop it into the chat. We'll talk about it. So I'm here for you guys today. I'm just reading about numerology. I'm curious how many of you guys believe in numerology. And it was 222 when I popped on here. And twos can represent duality, but I mean, it's also about which direction you want to take in your life, right? Duality, the duality of purpose, the duality of existence. And I'm just studying up on numerology here and life path numbers, because the thing is that with our life path number, it's supposed to represent the amount of spiritual awareness you have of your ancestral trauma. So what that means is, what did your parents pass on to you? How much awareness do you have of what the challenges are that could be part of your lineage, part of what your ancestors have passed down to you? And also with your name. So you can add up the numbers of your name, just like you add up the numbers of your birth date, and you add them up, you reduce them down to one number, hello, and that one number is going to be coded here in the numerology. So that one number is going to let you know where on the spiritual path you are. Where are you from, Naga? So now I don't have subscribers only on. You guys have to be good in the comments or I will remove you. What's the question, Isaiah? Is it an appropriate question? I don't know what you're asking me. Keep it appropriate. I have no problem kicking people out of my chat. Okay, yes. So when I popped on here, it was 222. 222 is duality. But it's also the awareness of other people, right? Because one is like solitary, and two is I have an awareness that there are other people. It's the beginning of, like the atom splitting the egg. There are other human beings. And then when we get to three, we get to community. So yeah, you can find your life path number to find out, what spiritual plane am I on? What spiritual existence am I living out? If I was number 3, that would be community. You know what I mean? If I was number 9, I'm completing karmic contracts, and we are actually in the year number 9 if you add them all up. Hey guys. So I'm reading this book about numerology, and I'm trying to learn more about it. Because believe it or not, in order for you to understand the tarot cards, numerology is involved in tarot, if you didn't know that. In the minor arcana and even in the major arcana, there's numbers on them. And if you add them up and you reduce them down, they're all coded in numerology. Can I ask you something? Well, it sounds more like you should go to a therapist. I'm not a therapist, There is a lot to be thankful for, and there's definitely a lot to be down about. So, and in that regard, it's all about controlling your mind and controlling your scruple. Come out of your mind, get into your body. Yeah, tarot cards are very famous in India, and so is astrology. Yes, thank you so much for saying that. Nikolai Tesla was obsessed with 369. He was, because there is something, because if you know anything about the internet or computers, that's all numbers. It's all zeros and ones. And so there's something about it in the universe. And there is, if you know about the Kabbalah and the study of the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, the number 22 is actually a very spiritual number. Now, I don't know all that much about why 22 is such a spiritual number, but yeah, Nikolai Tesla, there's a lot of talk about how Nikolai Tesla got his information from aliens. If you guys don't believe in aliens by now, you got to get in tune with the vibrations of the aliens. So I think that Nikola Tesla got his ideas. There's all kinds of studies about how he would have these dreams and he would wake up in the middle of the night and he would write his inventions down. And when we get downloads through our dreams, through our thoughts. So if you're having any kind of overwhelming thoughts, that could be downloads from the aliens, that could be downloads from source. You'll have to add up your birthday and reduce it down to one number. That's all I know about that. That's going to tell you your life path number. And like I said before, you don't know this about me, and I'm not going to share my name on here, you guys, but I changed my name. My name now is different than what it used to be. So I now have a different life path number. Or, well, so not life path is related to your birth date, but the name numerology is a little different. But any case, yeah, numbers are huge. Your sister is an alien? Yes, you definitely, if you don't believe in aliens, you're not going to be prepared for what's to come. Because we're already out there in space. You know, there's in other planets, we're the aliens on other planets. The universe is not against anyone. That's all in your mind. It's important to control your mind because if you don't, you can have, I mean, honestly, everything's about your mind. We love with our mind. We hate with our mind. We manifest with our mind. Psychics, the word psychic comes from the word psyche, which is your mind. So if you believe in the Matrix, it's all the mind. So it's important to have control over your thoughts and your minds because that's your reality. What you think will become true. E.T. is coming. I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure how to answer that question, so I'm just gonna ignore it. You guys, YouTube will restrict your comments. But yeah, so I came on here to vibe with you guys. I'm not pulling tarot, but I think it's important for you guys to not rely on tarot so much and to rely on your own knowledge of yourself and to recognize patterns. Because a lot of what psychics do is they recognize patterns. You're struggling. I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds like you might want to talk to a professional. Yeah, you have to recognize patterns. If you don't recognize patterns, you're not going to be able to change the pattern. And I talk about this all the time with relationship karma because a lot of that, karma is not what goes around comes around. No, because if that was true, then why would good things happen to bad people? Excuse me, seem to not be able to talk. I had a cough drop in. So karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma is your thoughts and your actions. It's actually a Buddhist terminology. And so your thoughts and your actions create your karma. They create what happens in reality. And, if you think bad things will happen. If you allow other people's thoughts, because energy entanglement is real, if you allow their thoughts to take over your mind and your reality, it's like giving your control to somebody else. And we see that in dating, we see that in love, we see that in relationships. Karma is a Hindi terminology, yes, and we get it wrong all the time here in America. I believe in karma because it's a real thing. It's and like I said, it's not what goes around comes around because we see a lot of bad people having good things happen for them. So that isn't what it is. Oh, sorry to hear that. But, it's not this mystical, magical thing. It's literally, you're going to reap what you sow. And if you want to change your karma, it starts with your thoughts, because your thoughts is your reality. Yeah, it was 222 when I popped on here, you guys, but it's important for you guys to understand, um, to understand your scruple, which is your mind, practice control over your mind, but also, I mean, we can't rely on tarot to give us all the answers, or astrology, because it's basically telling you what you already know. The way to do it is to get in touch with your higher self. It's 333. That's why saying is bad people are always doing good. Bad people are always doing good. I'm not going to answer that question. Yes. Hello. But I was on Instagram earlier, and they were talking about how there are these retreats that they have, like psychic meditations that allow you to raise your consciousness, your conscious awareness, because we all have psychic gifts, we all have intuitive gifts, we all have the capability to see the future based on patterns, and to hear, even hear people's thoughts. And it doesn't, it's not the way that they show it in the movies, but like you'll hear people see, CIA agents talking about how they use psychics all the time, and that's because these people have control over their minds, and they're able to tap in to the collective and conscious. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to remove you. I pray that you get the help that you need, but YouTube chat is not the place for that, you guys. YouTube chat is not the place. Um, you have to just go and get help for yourself. We have karma, we have manifestation. Yeah, so honestly, we give these psychic people a lot of power. And if we believe in aliens, all it is a big brain. It's a brain that's developed their gifts. And so you can be your own psychic by developing your brain. You can develop your gifts any day. So that's why it's really important to sit and meditate. Not for too long, you guys. Meditating for too long is bad, just like anything else. There's things that can happen to you, but it's important to like turn off your phone, put your phone down, just sit with your thoughts, and to be able to slow them down or control them. Because if you really practice sitting and listening, you'd be surprised how many answers you can solve, how many questions that you would be able to answer for yourself. And when I was in Los Angeles, I lived in Los Angeles for a while. I had so many intrusive thoughts, you guys. Los Angeles is a very sad place as far as like collectively. You said something about the lottery. Yeah, you have to listen to your dreams. You have to pay attention to your thoughts. The collective unconscious has, a huge power and discipline over us. That's very true. So meditation can develop your higher consciousness and your awareness. Is that what I mean? Yes, meditation. Meditation is how you develop your intuitive and your psychic gifts, because we all have them. It's just that people are very distracted right now by their cell phones, and they're very cut off from nature. The more you're cut off from nature, the more depressed you're gonna feel, right? The more we're in the corporate world, the less we're able to hear our own voice. We have other people's thoughts and other people's opinions in our heads. So, but yeah, I'm trying to study numerology so I can understand it on a deeper level to be able to connect with you guys. Yeah, I don't know. Taha, everybody's different, but apparently were some people who went on a retreat, and they practice, I think it's Vipassana, where they don't talk for 10 days and then they go into deep meditation. And some of those people were having mental health breakdowns. So everybody's different. You know, you have to listen to your body. You have to be able to listen to that. It's the same as a diet. Some people can be a vegan and other people cannot. And it's because we have to listen to our body. Our body will tell us what we need. No, no, it's not that I think meditation is bad. I just think that we have to know what our limits are. Meditation is good. For me, I can do about 20 minutes is probably the most I can do. Probably won't comment on that. Nature's haunted house. Jericho says your ex left. You were telling me this yesterday. It sounds like you're tormenting yourself by looking at photos of this person. Your body doesn't want to do it, and your mind. Do what? Meditate? Oh, I love that Emily Dickinson quote. You know, I'm not great at remembering quotes. But I definitely think that there are entities out there in nature. And you know how they have that meme, I told it to the trees, I told it to the woods, I told what you did to the squirrels. Well, guess what? Whenever you say something out loud, it makes it more true. I am from America. So, and I used to have this dream journal, you guys, when I was younger. In school, they told us to have a dream journal. And like we wrote things down. And I wrote down that I wished that I could sleepwalk, and I started sleepwalking. This is so crazy. That's why you'll see like artists, they'll be writing about things that end up happening to them in their lives. Musicians, singers, actors, you know, that's why it's like when you put things down on paper or you say them out loud, it's like you're making a wish to the universe for that thing to happen. Lucid dreaming is not just okay. So the thing about witchcraft is I don't know how to feel about it, you guys. I think protection rituals are very important, but I honestly don't think we need to do rituals. I think all we need to do is write things down and control our mind and do good things. That's all I think that we need to do. And if we think someone's bad, we need to learn to listen to our bodies to stay away from them. Um, Honestly, it doesn't matter what I believe about religion because you have to find your own beliefs. It's important. Number 7 is actually the number of the mystic. If you're seeing 7 a lot, I know a lot of people say 777 is like a symbol that you're gonna create wealth, but it's actually the number of the mystic. So if you're seeing 7, you're probably developing your intuition, your psychic gifts, or you're becoming more spiritually aware, you know, a higher consciousness. And 666 is not the number of the devil. 6 is actually the number of harmony and love and peace. And if you study the Kabbalah, number 6 is where God and all the gods, goddesses, Buddha, that's where they hang out. It's the number of harmony, it's the number of love. All that propaganda about demons. If you look back, most of these demons are debunked. They're all myths. They were never really real. People didn't have education back then. So they created these ideas and these myths, and now you hear people spreading propaganda about demons, and I'm like, the only demons here are humans who are unhealed or who were dealt a really bad hand in life. And, you know, bad people do bad things. Hurt people hurt people. Those are the only demons. The only demons is our shadow self. At least that's in my beliefs, but you're allowed to have your own beliefs. You had an encounter with Scanner 6. Oh boy. It's just a number. Yeah, I think that there are, numbers that are like 22, which is some sort of spiritual number. I think it's the key to the universe because it's math. If you think about math, math has done so much as far as mechanical engineering, the internet. It's amazing. So there is something magical to math and science and, numerology. It is a good number, right? So, and I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in Lucifer. I think that religion can sometimes be used to control people. You can believe what you want, but it's important to think for yourself. And that's it. That's all I'll say about it. I'm trying to attract peace and harmony. And you see 11 a lot. Well, 11 reduces to number 2. And in numerology, that's duality, that's choices, decisions. No, I'm not atheist. I'm agnostic. And I think it's like just kind of you have to find your own beliefs. I think that it's more complicated than our human brains can understand. And I think that we're trying to create answers in a world of uncertainty. That's what I think deep down. Yeah, I like that. Love is the greatest religion. So if you look at let's start with Buddhism for example because Buddhism predates Christianity and Judaism. It's older than a lot of the other religions, but what do they practice? They say to be kind to others and to be human is to suffer, and our jobs here are to alleviate as much suffering as we can by being kind, by being good and understanding that it's not all about us, it's about community. So I think love is probably the only thing that all religions have in common. You might be agnostic. Yeah, I probably am more agnostic than anything. I talk about Buddhism on here all the time, but I'm not a Buddhist because I think that there are some flaws with it, just like everything else. I think it's just important to be good and do good. But what we forget when we say to do good and to be good is that sometimes we forget that we have to be good to ourselves. And I think like loving ourselves is the hardest type of love there is because we don't, at the end of the day, we don't have anyone else to blame but ourselves when we're an adult. I mean, when we're a child, it's a different story. But yeah, I believe karma is our actions. It's actions. So I believe the Buddhist interpretation of karma, because that is the oldest form definition of karma. So if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I don't know much about Hinduism, but I don't want to say anything bad about any religion because I think that it comes from a place of goodness. Except for I have some things to say about Christianity that I don't want to offend anyone, but I think that that religion was created to control people, and I don't agree with that. I think we can be superstitious. Oh, I don't know what you mean there. Our higher authority is who govern us. That's true. I think that that's why, yeah, it's definitely important to look at your higher self because the higher self, we're all regulated for self to do things for ourselves, and the more that we're open to be, help the community and be there for the community, the better our lives get. I mean, with everyone all around. Um, do I believe in the afterlife? I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what happens when we pass. I definitely think that our ancestors are always around when you think about matter, because if you look at the science of it, if you look at the science of it, or when we pass, our body decomposes and it goes back to matter. goes back to molecules and matter, which is released into the air. So what date is bad for me? I don't know how to answer that question. So when it comes to the afterlife, I think that it's really just it's matter, where we go back to matter, and we don't necessarily have the same level of consciousness and awareness, because our brains, obviously our brains stop working when our bodies, when we decompose, our bodies decompose, our brains decompose, and when that happens, we don't have the same level of awareness of where we are anymore. So we kind of go back to nature. Yeah, I like John Lennon. I'm from the Midwest. So heaven and hell, I don't really believe in heaven and hell. I think that I think that heaven and hell is here on earth. That's what I think. Thank you. I wish I studied quantum physics. I feel like quantum physics is probably the closest we're going to get to real answers to some of these questions. Yes, 100%. Bhagavad Gita. I've read parts of it. Not 100%. Because obviously I used to go to a Buddhist temple, and I don't really go to the temple anymore. I do sometimes meditate. I've been really bad about meditating, I'm not going to lie. I'm not married. I did go to college, but I did not graduate. That's cool. You can believe what you want to believe. Because whether I believe in something doesn't make it not true. I think that we really have to come together and with people despite what our beliefs are, because at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. Doesn't matter what we believe, the truth is the truth. And I think that we're all just trying to guess. Very funny. I have no idea. You guys are funny in the comments. The truth is the truth. So it's important to be good to your neighbor, because that's the one thing that all religions can agree on. Love thy neighbor. Be good to each other. We don't want to create an environment of hostility just because one person, is Christian and the other person is Jehovah's Witness. We can all come together. We all have common grounds. We all breathe oxygen. We all need H2O. So we all bleed red blood. People need to support, not control each other. 100%, I think the Bible, there are lots of different versions of the Bible. So yes, it is edited. I don't know anything about Islam, but it's the same opinion that I have for all the others. Is we can all speculate about where we came from, and I think, but it's important to not curse other people's religion and have your own beliefs. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to talk about it, because I'm not trying to offend anyone's beliefs. So, we all have to have our own beliefs in this world and in this life. And it doesn't really matter. If you're doing good and you're not harming other people, believe what you want to believe. Thank you. But, I used to go to a Catholic school when I was younger. And I'm not going to lie, you guys. People were so mean at that school. I didn't like it because I didn't like how mean the other children were to me. So I left that school, but thank you. I grew up to have my own beliefs outside of what I was taught in that school. And I don't think that humans have the answers. I think we want to have the answers. The coming of age of Aquarius will see a shift from dominant religions. The thing about astrology is that there's more than one type of astrology. There's sidereal astrology, there's tropical astrology, there's Vedic astrology, there's North Indian astrologies, and there's South Indian astrology. So, and people will fight tooth and nail about my astrology is right, your astrology is right. Bullying is definitely bad. So when it comes to astrology, it's best to, keep an open mind, and it's look at it with a grain of salt, because it's a matter of degrees. It's literally a matter of degrees. So in tropical, they have areas at 0 degrees, and I think in like sidereal, I'm not sure what the degrees are, but it's not 0 degrees. What a weird question. So yeah, when it comes to astrology, like I know that when you look at your chart, it definitely hits home for you. But the thing is that astrology isn't telling you anything that you don't already know. Ah, okay. I've heard about 31 Atlas, and that's super interesting. And I don't know much about it, but I think that there are a lot of answers out there in the galaxy and in the solar system. I think there's more answers out there than there are on this planet. That's what I think. So, and even the people who are the smartest people in the world, I can't have you talking about that here on this. I'm sorry. Even the smartest people on the world don't have all the answers, right? And you know what? The smartest people in the world, a lot of them died poor. So don't think just because someone has a bunch of money that they're a genius or that they're super intelligent. No, no, you aren't how much money you make. It doesn't always define you. Money is man made, language is man made. Existence predates language, all languages. Cosmic clock to shamanism. Yeah. So I definitely think there is a lot of ancient knowledge that, can be incurred from astrology. But astrology, if you look at your natal chart, it shouldn't tell you anything that you don't already know. It's just going to confirm, oh yeah, well, that it kind of explains why I'm like that. So it's fun, but the best thing to do over astrology or tarot is know yourself. If you don't know yourself, then there's a bigger problem than what your rising sign is in Vedic astrology. Oh, thanks, guys. Um, because I can't sit here and tell you that I didn't look at my natal charts and be surprised at the stuff that I learned. No, I know myself. I know the things that I don't want to admit. Sometimes it tells you things that you weren't aware about yourself because you haven't sat with yourself, you haven't discovered your dark night of the soul. That's the negative and the positive about our characteristics. A lot of that is inherited. And that's why in this year number 9, which is the end game, a lot of souls are becoming way more aware of ancestral trauma and the patterns that they've created within their own life that has been passed down from generation to generation. And we're talking about things like poverty, trauma, mental illness, physical illness, spiritual belief systems. This is all inherited. So, and if you think about a lineage, like a culture of people, they have inherited trauma from ancestors. Like, for example, immigrants, people who have moved their family from one nation to another. There's different ancestral trauma with them and their different cultures. Thanks, guys. I don't know what you mean here. Modern culture has been commercialized. Yes. Yes, and a lot of astrologers come on there and they exaggerate what's happening, and that's just so that they can get your money or they can get your views. And at the root of it all, it's just knowing yourself. And I hope that you know yourself well enough so that no amount of astrology or tarot can tell you and something about yourself that you don't already know. Because chances are you already know. Collected memory handed down. Yeah, that's a good way to describe ancestral trauma. And it's not always trauma. Sometimes it's ancestral, because we never ever talk about the good things that our ancestors gave us. For example, I have pretty good teeth, and that's from my ancestral line. That's from my lineage. That's from my DNA is coded to have that. And yeah, it's not always trauma that our ancestors give us. They give us the good things and the bad things. But yeah, I love astrology. I do. I love it. But you know, there's a lot of people who make these false claims that like Mercury retrograde. And I talk about Mercury retrograde. We're in a pre-shadow Mercury retrograde right now. But they make all these claims about it, and I just think that we should take it with a grain of salt. We should never allow it to dictate what we do in our lives. Um, we have to have the wherewithal to know better what's right for us. Doesn't matter what the astrologer says is going to happen, because a lot of the time they'll do these predictions, or they'll these like um, monthly astrological predictions. They're not going to tell you anything that you don't know. It's very rare that they're going to be like, you know, on Tuesday, November 22nd, you are going to lose something and it's going to ruin your whole day. That's just silly. Yeah, the trauma part, you're right, it's real pain. I don't know what the theories are of Billy Carson. But yeah, we got to take the good, and we got to take the good with the bad. Um, so for me, there was definitely a lot of poverty on both sides of my family, but there's also been so much perseverance to get out of poverty that I know that my life was a lot more privileged than what my mother had when she had growing up, for example. Superstition is so weird. Yeah, I think a lot of astrology can be superstitious, you know, because they do fear mongering and they're like, globally, we're gonna have chaos. And I know this one astrologer who I don't particularly like very much, because he's always gonna say in the headline of his video, I won't say his name, this is going to be the most chaotic week of the year. I'm like, bro, you used that headline 2 weeks ago. So honestly, you just have to be mindful of the content that you consume, especially on YouTube, because all of it's, you know, they're trying to get attention. I'm in the game. I know having a good title to your video is so very important to get views. But you as the consumer have to know better. You have to be smarter than them. Your English isn't that good. That's okay. I love Vedic astrology, but it's very, thank you. It's very difficult to understand compared to a tropical natal chart. Any of you guys who actually, you know, have looked up your chart on those websites, the tropical chart is a circle, and the Vedic charts are like this weird square rectangular thing. And I'm really new to it. I don't know how to read it. It's kind of confusing. It doesn't have all the information on the natal chart like the tropical astrological charts do. The tropical astrological charts are way easier to read because they have the planet symbol, they have the zodiac symbol, they have the number of the house on the chart. And Vedic astrology, you have to do a lot more work and searching and into what's going on in the chart. I have heard about the Emerald Tablets, but I haven't read it yet. I'm from America. I know America is going through it right now, but every country has, you know, it's normal for countries to go through some stuff. And I think, you know, I think it's very, very important to remember Pangea. Every country used to be connected it was all one big land mass. So when we talk about the borders, those borders are man-made. They're not man-made, but they weren't there before. They were made by global shifts, by, shifts in the climate and the glaciers melting. You're proud? Justice says, how do I get a reading? You can email me. Yeah, I've been on the fence as to whether or not to do readings, but I really like doing them video chat, and the only payment method I have right now is PayPal and Venmo. Yeah, I'm better as a one-on-one tarot reader. Square chart is 12 house. Yendi has a superpower. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Yes, I've heard of the book. I haven't read it yet. And I started reading Aleister Crowley's book. You guys, if you know who Aleister Crowley is, you know that he wasn't the best of people. But he did put out a lot of really good information. So, think what you will about Aleister Crowley. He really contributed a lot to the tarot community. But what he released, the book that he put out about, the Thoth Tarot, is based on the Kabbalah, and all of the information that he puts in this book, he didn't create that. Those are secrets that were already in existence. So I still want to read it. I really don't like Aleister Crowley himself. He's kind of an idiot. You're welcome. So that's on my list of books to read. I forget what the name of Aleister Crowley's book is, but the Emerald Tablet, and then that book that he has on the Thoth Tarot. I had it downloaded on my phone. I just haven't read it yet. I've been kind of lazy. I have a lot of books to read. I still have this one I've been trying to read on the numerology. It's a lot of dense material. And most of these secrets that people online are trying to sell you, secrets to this and that, if you read a book, if you read more, you can learn all of this without having to pay anyone. I say the same for tarot, because I taught myself tarot. I'm pretty sure that I've paid at least one person in the past, but I taught myself tarot, and in the beginning it's memorization, but it's a lot of looking things up. It's a lot of understanding symbology, understanding the different types of tarot card and astrology. So putting all that together, and you can learn tarot on your own. Why God created us? Is that your question? I think that is a question as old as time. And I wish I could answer that. I think that's a really big question. Why were we put here? Why are we here? And in fact, I think that we've always existed. I think that there's always been some sort of organism, that's been existent, that's been around in existence. I don't know. Okay, you gotta go. That's so weird. Do I think the twin... I'm Justice. I don't want to be rude to you, but I think that... This is falling over. I don't believe in twin flames. If a relationship is good for you, it's good for you, and I think it's more important to, ask the question, is this person good for me, than if they're my twin flame. Because I think people get caught up on these titles, and we have to be honest with ourselves, because whether or not twin flames are real, a relationship is either good for you or it's bad for you. Yeah, that's really it. You don't like if you don't like your connection, that's all the answers that you need right there. You just have to trust yourself, and don't worry about the titles like that, We all born for a common purpose. Humans will find the purpose that we will fight for each other. I hope so. Because right now, I think we're fighting each other. We're not really coming together. That's why it's so hard to find a good relationship, because I feel like people are becoming more and more about themselves and less about community. I'm not going to tell you that. Get out of here.
Yeah, as far as the twin flame goes, I think it's kind of damaging to believe in twin flames because I think if we think someone's our twin flame or our soulmate, we usually put up with a lot of more things that we shouldn't put up with just because we think it's it's doesn't mean it's not an important relationship. It doesn't mean that it's not imprinting on you. It doesn't mean that there isn't something that you're going to get from it. But it's kind of dangerous to give someone a magical title like that. Humans were genetically engineered by ancient gods. I don't know. I mean, anything's possible in this day and age. We already know the aliens are real. They milk the twin flame Kundalini divine feminine thousands light workers narrative into twin cringe country. Yeah, that's funny. Um, I mean, we are all divine beings. That part is true. He doesn't deserve that. Yeah, but if people don't treat you right, just leave. That's it. I think that we complicate it because we have these ideas in our mind about how we want someone to be, and when we have expectations of a relationship, that's when things can become difficult to detach ourselves from someone who's not treating us right because we had these expectations and these ideals and we want to hold out hope. I mean, we all want a good connection, but the sooner that we detach from people who aren't right for us, the sooner we'll meet people who are right for us. And we got to keep it simple, that's it. Don't complicate it, in relationships, really just keep it simple. I don't know if I want to hear a joke. I really don't know what that is. No one trusts anyone anymore. I think people are just becoming aware of the fact that the nuclear family is not as realistic as it was in the 1950s. I'm probably going to block you after you say your punchline. I do like poetry. Okay, I hope that that's an appropriate joke because okay, you're good. That's a funny joke. Thank you. I actually used to write poetry all the time. Stryker says celibate, inward journey, spiritual cultivation, and the real get to know yourself. Yeah, honestly, in the 1950s, women had no rights, had no power. They had to marry in order to have a bank account. Couldn't have their own bank account. So that's why, society is waking up and the world has changed now in America. We can come out here and we can get our own jobs, we can get our own bank account, we don't have to marry someone to survive. And I think that's the dynamics in relationships are completely changing. We're waking up to the fact that monogamy isn't the only type of relationship anymore. There's ethical non-monogamy, there's polyamory, there's polygamy, there's marriage, there's open relationships. I don't know. I'm sorry, but you're acting weird. I have YouTube restrictions on, so if you're saying something weird, YouTube will restrict it. You love Angelina Jolie, very very good, very nice. So yeah, relationship dynamics are changing, and because of that, relationship dynamics are changing. And I know there are a lot of men out there, who have expectations. There's a lot of women who have expectations. So it's the modern age. No. But anyway, yeah, you guys. Oh, I think it's very important to connect to nature. It's important for your mental health. And in America, we don't spend that much time in nature. We're indoors. We're in our car, we're at our job, or we're at the gym. And even going to the gym, you're completely disconnected from nature, which is a really important part for your mental health. Yes, I like poetry. I don't know. You said, what was that sound? I got a text message. That's probably what you heard. But yeah, I don't know. Like now that, women's have more rights, it's challenging the relationship dynamics, and you don't have to stay with someone who cheats or doesn't treat you right or disrespects you. You don't have to do that. And for men, I feel like in America at least, a lot of men are tired of being the provider. So there's this kind of push and pull with these old, modern, traditional relationships. And I think collectively, we're trying to kind of refigure relationships, romantic relationships in this day and age. Um, it's a collective awakening. William Shakespeare is pretty cool. I like William Shakespeare. But yeah, I don't know if you guys know who Teal Swan is. She believes in twin flames. I'm not sure how I feel about Teal Swan. I don't know how I feel about her, but she talks about relationships, and she has this theory that in the future relationships are going to be more tribal, and they're not going to be monogamous nuclear family. I like Eric Clapton. That's cool that you're a poet. So, and if you believe in like the astrology of the Aquarius has, they're probably one of the only zodiac signs that I think believe in. I see a lot of Aquarius polyamorous people, or they have a more tribal approach to relationships. If you know anything about Aquarius, it is a very like tribal mindset. I'm not saying I'm pro for that or against it. I'm just saying of the reality of it. Yes, Justice, I 100% agree. We're all feminine and masculine because we have testosterone and estrogen. Women have testosterone and men have estrogen. We just have different levels of it. Oh, you're an Aries sun? I am a Pisces sun in tropical. You don't believe in astrology. Well, that's okay. Not everyone believes in it. Family. Yes, I like family. I don't know what you mean. The age of Aquarius is androgynous. Well, the thing is that because queer rights out here in the States, more and more people are challenging the status quo when it comes to gender affirming anything. That's why we have non-binary. I was probably one of the, people who thought very differently back in high school, that I hated the idea that women had to wear pink and that women had to wear high heels. I always thought that that was not something that women should have to do, should have to be forced to do, because it's a system of control. That was my belief system. But I have Aquarius in my Vedic and my sun, so yeah, and I absolutely love that the times have caught up with my own personal beliefs about gender biases, and men can cry and women can be angry. 100%, because we all have testosterone and estrogen within us. I am a Pisces and tropical, and I'm an Aquarius and Vedic in my sun. Well, the thing about Pisces is that we are the high priestess in tarot, and we have like a lot of like esoteric knowledge, and they're called the psychics of the zodiac because they were the last sign of the zodiac. And typically, if you have Pisces, like let's say in your Venus or your midheaven, you're probably going to be called to like more spiritual things and the esoterics. Yeah, so your sun sign placement, no, I get this mixed up. So I think the sun sign placement, The rising sign placement is who you are, your actual personality, and the sun placement is who you aspire to be. I think that's what astrologers say. You have Taurus sun and rising. Wow, stubborn. Yeah, I would say that must be a difficult one to have. Lots of shiny things. But I feel like that makes you very stable. Probably you're very career driven. I think Tauruses they don't get enough credit for being hard workers because I think that Taurus placements do things slowly. They do things at their own speed and cannot be rushed. But that doesn't mean that they don't work hard. Work very hard. April 20th, I think, is Aries, yeah. But I think that you're on the cusp. Aries, Pisces cusp. Astrologers don't believe in cusp signs, by the way. They say you only have one sun placement. Now, how that is very true. There's such a thing in tropical astrology called decans. And that's because each zodiac sign is separated into 10 degrees. It's a 30-degree placement in the galaxy, in the solar system, and it's 10 degrees for each decan. So, for example, an Aries who was born at the beginning of April has somewhat different characteristics than an Aries who was born later in the month because of the decans. You're a Taurus woman. Oh, nice. Technically, you're an Aries cusp. And what that means is that in Vedic astrology, you're probably a Pisces sun. Or, wait, I don't know what the next sign over. You're either a Pisces sun in Vedic astrology or a Taurus. Because for me, I was born on the cusp of Pisces, and I was born on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. So in Vedic astrology, I have my sun is in Aquarius. That's really all that means. I mean, you have a one sun placement, but you probably have Pisces in your Vedic chart as your sun. I don't know. What is it? What is the confirmation of it in the view of God? I don't know. I think God is something very abstract. That's what I think. I think it's bigger than what we know. Yeah, I definitely think the closest thing that we have to God is nature. Because it grows on its own. It exists on its own. And when we say nature, we think about all the creatures in nature that grow and exist all on their own outside of like human I don't know, without the humans having to do anything for them. It just exists. Even if humans were to be extinct, let's say like the dinosaurs, nature would still survive unless we completely destroy the planet, but there's nature on other planets that would still exist. Well, I'm not going to argue about religion. You can believe and I can believe, and we can coexist with our beliefs. You split the day in two. I think it's very challenging to some people who don't believe in evolution, but I do believe in evolution. I think it's undeniable. I don't think that you can deny evolution because climate change is evolution. It might be like seen as de-evolution because it's destabilizing, but it's changing everything, and it's going to change the amount of creatures and the type of trees and things. It's going to change the geography of Earth. I mean, it already is. I definitely agree with that. Everything that we see. So I think evolution is undeniable. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with all this climate change, because it's going to wipe out certain types of creatures and certain types of nature. because certain places are going to be so hot they're going to be uninhabitable. And you already see like certain, like, let's say mice or squirrels or birds in certain parts of the world that are gonna dehydrate to death because it's too hot and there's no water supply or something like that. So I'm kind of afraid of what climate change is gonna do. Hey, Reaction King. That's a good question. I don't know. I think evolution is unpredictable because it's nature. That's not something that humans can. I mean, maybe humans can have an influence on evolution. Um, because if you think about it, like, let's say your evolutionary, like, from a scientific perspective, and it's coded in your DNA. So, for an example of this, if you are overweight or underweight and you have a child you conceive, that child is it's going to be pre-coded in their DNA to have the same type of weight or body mass index as you when when you conceive the child. Now, which one, the mother or the father, which one of them is going to influence the body mass index of that child is going to depend on whose genetics are stronger, who has stronger genetic markers. So that's how we influence evolution. Let's say I'm predisposed to diabetes, but I change my diet and I overcome that, and then I conceive and have a baby. That baby will no longer be coded with diabetes. Or, I mean, it still might have a chance at having diabetes, but there's less of a chance because, you changed your diet and you changed your health. That's just an example of evolution that humans have control over. Hi guys. I'm probably gonna get off here soon because I feel very tired today. If we truly evolved from Earth, we were the sea, and animals now humans. That's cool. Yeah, I definitely think that we evolved from. I mean, because we're all humans are considered mammals, and if you believe in Darwinism and you believe in that, evolution and Darwinism, and that we evolved from chimpanzees. So I wonder if that's true, but we were the Cro Magnon man. We were like cavemen. How do you make yourself stuck in bad situations? I think because you're not paying attention to your intuition. Um, LGBT has existed since before Christianity. I think it's a part of nature. And I think anybody who casts stones at LGBT community doesn't understand nature. I don't know. It's a part of humanity. There's even certain species of animals that are um, intersex, if you know what that is. I'm not sure how much I can say on here, but that's all I'll say. It's a part of nature. It's not unnatural at all. And we need to be more accepting. Cool. Thanks, guys. Evolution is going to happen whether we like it or not. That's just the way the world works. If you know anything about the cosmos and the planets, we are constantly rotating. The Earth is constantly rotating on its axis, but it's also moving around the sun. I don't know what the speed, it's like the speed of light or something like that. And I think that we have like 31 Atlas is how many, what do you guys know about 31 Atlas? Because I recently just discovered it. I think it's a shooting star. Is that what it is? British English is cool. But yeah, so we cannot stop evolution. We had a chance at stopping climate change, but unfortunately, it's already started. So we just kind of have to prepare for the worst. Yes, the Big Bang. I will have to go back and study the Big Bang. Oh, Reaction King says it's a comet. 31 Atlas is a comet, not a shooting star. I stand corrected. That shows how much I researched it, which is not at all. I did not at all. But I would love to know more about it because anything that's happening in the solar system, that I think just shows how small human beings are, how small all of our problems are, really. The trees and the birds been around longer. Yes, they have, and they will outlast us. I think that's very true. You know, as long as the planet is still habitable for trees, because if global warming changes the weather, the climate, the atmosphere, then we might have less oxygen. And we need trees to survive. We need trees because they give us oxygen. Without trees, we can't breathe. And if if the climate is changed to where trees can't exist, then that means humans can't either. And so that's why I think it's so important to take care of Mother Earth. I think it's always existed. I think that I just said I think that creation is nature, not just nature on Earth, but there's nature on other planets in the solar system. They have different terrains and they have different ecosystems and they have different organisms, which we call organisms aliens, but humans are also organisms that are considered aliens to other life form on other planets. I'm not going to argue with you about religion. It's okay for you to believe what you believe, and I'll believe what I believe. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, I think I'm going to get off here. Thank you so much for coming out and for chatting with me. I am going to be doing Mercury retrograde readings for any of you who are into that, which is going to be focusing on an ex, because some of us are going to probably hear from past people, and it's important to think about that. Ooh, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Thanks so much for coming out, and I hope that you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next live. Bye, guys.